His name is Carlos, and you've probably seen him on television or mentioned in the press. Carlos is involved in the mystical field of channeling. That's when an ancient spirit supposedly takes over someone's body so that he may then walk around a stage offering his teachings to true believers. Now, Carlos was promoted here as a leading figure in the New Age movement in America. That's the same movement that Shirley MacLaine defended so strongly on this program last Sunday. Well, Carlos arrived in Australia to face up to a sceptical and aggressive media. As it turned out, though, tough as they were, these interviewers and reporters missed one very crucial point. More about that later. First, let's take a look at the Opera House last Sunday. Hundreds packed in to see a shy young artist named Jose Alvarez suddenly become the wise old spirit, Carlos.
I will tell you about love and living.
They came in their hundreds, the faithful and the curious. They came to hear pearls of wisdom cast by Carlos.
In a way, crystals are fossils of long ago. Long dead spirits.
Carlos, if you believe him, is a spiritual messenger who occupies the body of this 19-year-old Puerto Rican artist, Jose Alvarez.
I thought it was great, very sincere, I thought.
Do you believe him?
Yeah, I do.
Channeling, it's one of the fastest growing in a long list of spiritual faiths.
God bless you, Dr. People.
It's a variation on reincarnation.
All right, I'll say, how are you this day of your time as you create time to exist?
The idea is that an ancient spirit decides to show up in someone else's body.
Beloved masters, indeed.
To New Age believers, this is all perfectly reasonable, perfectly logical. From channelers, believers hope and expect to hear the wisdom of the ages.
I am what is called the awakening of a dream. I am the realization of what you be.
But Carlos, apart from all the other channelers, he boasts a very special feature. If you measure Jose Alvarez's pulse, it seems to stop, virtually to the point of death, just as the spirit enters him.
Welcome. I am Carlos.
Last Sunday, the Opera House Drama Theatre was packed with a near-capacity crowd of 500, there to listen to Carlos and to have their questions passed on to him by his disciples.
Can you cure my migraines?
This is a question for a lady. And this lady is wearing aqua-colored crystals. But they are only glass. If they were real crystals, she will not have this migraine.
And apart from this fanciful medicine, Carlos has some other homegrown homilies.
Crystals are great sources of power.
This is all good New Age stuff, reincarnation, spiritual healing, and the critical role of crystals.
The earth itself is a gigantic crystal. All life on earth derived from crystal power.
Admission to the Carlos performance was free, but later the audience was invited to shop at a supernatural supermarket. But what had drawn all these potential new followers? Well, Carlos had foreshadowed his visit to Australia, not through a sign from the heavens or a natural disaster, but through a good old-fashioned public relations campaign. This is how it was organised. First, the key Sydney media received this glossy public relations handout. Now, inside there's a book of Carlos's teachings, various glossy photographs of the chap and other paraphernalia. Also available is a specially produced sound cassette and, available on demand, a specially produced video.
This is Radio WOOP in New York, and Carlos,
This videotape shows a New York radio interview by Carlos and one of his Broadway appearances. It all helps paint him as a mystic media celebrity in the United States. What response does the publicity handout produce? Can I ask you how you knew that this was occurring here today?
On TWT.
Through TWT, yeah.
You saw it on television?
Yeah, we did.
Earlier, I spoke with a channel by the name of Jose Alvarez, a 19-year-old artist who is about to visit Australia. His body is frequently taken over, he says, by a spirit called Carlos.
First comes Terry Willisey tonight, who, in good competitive spirit, conducts a satellite interview with Carlos before he even leaves the United States.
What do you say to the skeptics who believe it's just an act, that you put on a performance?
I do not say anything to them. I let Carlos do that. He does it pretty good.
The primetime current affairs show screens their satellite interview, complete with a registered nurse they hire to check Alvarez's pulse.
Okay, it's gone.
I am Carlos.
Then the mighty mystic arrives in Australia and hosts a press conference in the palatial presidential suite of a plush Sydney hotel.
At my public meeting, I will expand on that. Next question.
Can you give us any idea of what this event might be?
It will be astronomical in nature.
A healthy section of the media shows up, though compared to Terry Willisey, their questions are timid.
Will this be a nuclear bomb or something like that?
Speak up!
Following on from the press conference comes an appearance on Channel 9's Today Show with an unconvinced Elizabeth Hayes.
I guess it's up to every individual.
How's the pulse, Jane?
Carlos, why can't Jane take your pulse?
This audience is terminated.
But Terry Willisey strikes back that evening. He screens part of his previous interview and then interviews a skeptic who seeks to debunk Carlos.
They will die.
Well, Harry, what did you think of all that?
Well, if I'm allowed to swear, Terry, I'll tell you, but I'll be kind about it and say it's a load of garbage.
The skeptic claims that Carlos's pulse trick is simply that, a trick.
Now, in this case, if you had, say, a tennis ball or a roll of cloth or some newspaper under the armpit and you put pressure on that, that will slow down the pulse rate.
The following morning as well, Jose Alvarez and his manager, Jorge Grillet, face up to a grilling by George Negus, once again on the Today Show.
Terry, if you want Carlos to
live. Can I say this to you? If we didn't want you to have the opportunity to explain yourself, we would not have invited you.
We got plenty of opportunity.
Well, why did you come in this morning other than for a little bit more publicity?
At the end of a lively interview, the Mystics manager, Jorge Grillet, pulls a stunt that gets all of Sydney talking. He douses the redoubtable Negus when things get too hot.
I mean, it's too much. Let's get out of here.
I think we've proved our point.
I think it speaks for itself.
This clip is shown and reshown and makes newspaper headlines. Suddenly it seems the Sydney media is alive with water throwing and Carlos. The Mirror newspaper, Ray Martin's midday show,
George explained why he'd had to call Carlos back.
the Channel 9 News, all run with the story.
One man who's been making a name for himself here in the United States is now doing the same in Australia.
And to finish the day, Mike Willisey brings the warring parties together on a current affair.
What would you say if I was to say to you that I think what you tried to convince us of yesterday is bunk?
All up, 60 hours after stepping off the plane in Australia, Jose Alvarez, cum Carlos, has had 8 television appearances, made splash newspaper headlines, and been mentioned on various radio stations. As the week goes on, film of Carlos is shown again on the Today Show and Nine's Sunday program, and his Opera House performance makes Nine's news and a big mention again on Today.
Look, I've got to say I'm a bit dirty on us. We've given this man more publicity than he ever deserved.
A sceptical media has put Jose Alvarez, or Carlos, through some torrid times during the week. So why did all those people still show up?
Well, first of all, I saw Terry Willis's program. I saw it on the Friday and the Monday, and I saw the Today Show.
Oh, yes, it was on TV. Heard it on TV with George Negus.
Well, we saw it on the Willissy show, you know. And actually, it was George Negus. Yeah, he had the George Negus incident where he threw the water.
Did you see Carlos on television?
Did I see him on TV? Yes, I did, yeah.
And is that one of the reasons you came?
Yeah.
The last thing Terry said was, we'll see them. You can, if you wish to follow this up, go to the Opera House on Sunday and he'll be there. So we thought, why not?
We've mentioned to you that tough and sceptical as the media were, they all missed one crucial point. The trick with the pulse? That doesn't even scratch the surface of just what a phony Carlos is. See for yourself in a moment. One of the roles the Australian media prides itself on is helping protect the public from frauds and charlatans, but this does give rise to a problem. In pursuing a questionable character like Carlos, do you end up playing into his hands by giving him too much free publicity? After all, even if you do the best job you can in exposing him, there will still be people vulnerable enough to be taken in. And if you do something less than your best, if you miss certain basic points of fact, then you've handed a visiting con man a golden opportunity to fleece the people you're supposed to protect. The plane that brought Jose Alvarez, Carlos's channeler, and his manager, Jorge Grillet, to Sydney also carried another important passenger, the skeptic and magician James Randi. You see, together with James Randi, 60 Minutes created Carlos.
I am an attended master. I am a very old spirit.
Remember that first press conference hosted by our mystic? Here, take another look.
First question.
Can you give us any idea of what this event might be?
It will be astronomical in nature.
It will be astronomical in nature.
While Carlos spoke to Sydney's assembled media, James Randi spoke to Carlos. He was concealed in the room next door and made less than spiritual contact with Jose Alvarez through high-tech radio equipment.
Next question.
And will this have worldwide implications?
Worldwide, of course.
In fact, there is no Carlos, nor was there one when we laid the seeds of this hoax in James Randi's hometown of Fort Lauderdale in Florida. Randi is known throughout the world for his crusade to debunk mystics. But in this case, we asked him to help create one, specially designed to answer two key questions on channeling.
I have come to teach you.
That's the new fad sweeping America. First, just how easy is it to fool people? But even more importantly, how easy is it to fool the media into giving out essential free publicity?
Forever and ever and ever. So be it.
I can sit in a chair and I can say, well, I am very old, and I can change my voice. And they say, his voice changed. Wow. My voice changes when I get a cold or I drink too much coffee.
Australia has a reputation for having the toughest interviewers anywhere. Could our phony mystic get past them and then go on to win himself a following?
Two of the major channelers said with a wry smile following it, and you can understand why, they looked straight into the camera and they said, look, I can't prove that it's real, but then you can't prove that it isn't.
So for our fake channeler, we settled on a local artist and friend of Randi's, Jose Alvarez. That's his real name. Jose agreed to masquerade as our mystic. But most important to us, Jose had had no acting experience. He was, if you like, straight off the street.
Place your fingers right in there.
Right.
And with your other finger, begin stroking. So that...
Right. The next stage in the scam was to give our channeler a gimmick the media could focus on. We decided that at the moment the supposed spirit Carlos enters Jose's body, his pulse would mysteriously stop.
It's a strange feeling, isn't it, Richard?
That's not bad. Okay, come back to life for me. The trick seems to work, but how's it done? It's an age-old technique of utter simplicity. A ball's concealed under the arm and squeezed, and that stops the pulse. But could something so simple fool even a doctor? we hired a Florida physician to try it out and to give us confidence in what we were doing.
Starting to slow down now. So it's now palpable.
So, with the doctor hoodwinked, next step is planning the personality of Carlos, the ancient spirit.
What about the moans, like...
Fill the space. Yeah.
Jose began practicing the dramatics of the professional channelers, always under the watchful eye of Grandmaster Randy.
Pointing out to the people or
Yeah, a lot of those things. Remember,
this is your reality.
Also, keep very wide.
Yeah.
Keep very wide, because you're going to be on a big stage.
Next, we went looking for a second character. Channelers apparently have personal managers, so we had to create one for Carlos. We found just the person in Jorge Grillet, a Miami fashion consultant. To entice the media, we must turn him into an obnoxious, pushy showbiz manager. More on him in a moment. Media publicity, remember, is the key to the eventual success of our scam, and as your common or garden variety channeling con man or con woman would be nothing without the press, we need to train Jose to play up for the cameras. I've heard you described as a fraud and a charlatan.
That's a very rude comment.
Well, that is a very rude comment.
Not only
Mr. Carlos, look, with not all that much beating around the bush, would you please tell me a figure for how much you expect to make out of this trip to Australia?
Money doesn't concern me.
Money doesn't concern me.
I don't make money from this.
I don't make money from this.
I'm a spirit.
I'm a spirit.
Randy manufactures the paper mountain that must accompany our channeler. Fake press articles from fake newspapers, fake publicity sheets, and the stock in trade of New Age gurus, a book.
What trash this is.
You were asking a question.
How much money are you making out of this exercise?
I do not make money. I am Carlos, an spirit.
Again and again we run Jose and Jorge through their roles, setting cameras and lights to simulate the TV studios we hope they'll be invited
Not at
to.
all.
Okay, how much money are you making?
You will have to refer to Jose's manager.
Yeah, you've got to dismiss me. Okay. No, won't answer that. None of your business, something, and then you're off on Two young men have to conquer stage fright and learn to lord it over the Australian airwaves.
It's not your concern.
See, there's your mistake. You're still looking at me. You're not the one that's really in control. Let's do it one more time. How much money have you made?
I already told you it's none of your business.
How much money are you making out of this? Notwithstanding all this pre-planning, and with the knowledge of how sceptical the Australian media can be, there are some obvious problems. Just a second.
Why are you in Australia? Why? Surely you're...
Yeah, I'll just pause it there. Now, to me, George, unfortunately, that is the weakest part of the whole act. I mean, forgive me for speaking to you so directly. You're just not the authority figure that you need to be the manager of this charlatan. Jorge, the personal manager, must ooze ill-gotten wealth.
Maybe it's some kind of clothing, you know, like a rich person.
Sure.
That would make a lot of difference to impress them and to be on top of them.
Right. So we go shopping, Miami style.
When he walks off the plane, this outfit is going to be fantastic. Everybody's going to look at him. If you thought he looked like a millionaire, everybody's going to say, just money. That's all the guy has is money.
This is the suit for the press conferences.
Certainly got to make an impression with that. If he doesn't impress the reporters on that, I'll never understand it. But I'll tell you what else. If he has to go into money...
I'm going to maybe give you some directions.
We've had a week with Randy, Jose and Jorge and have 3 weeks to go before the trio will try to make Sydney sit up and take notice. Why?
I don't need to answer you why, okay?
No, but you asked us to come along here to listen to this sort of crap that you're putting
You
up.
can leave if you want.
We've booked the Sydney Opera House Drama Theatre for the one and only appearance of the mighty Carlos, and we will rely on the media to make sure we fill it.
I don't have to prepare any answer for that question, okay?
The same media that, with the slightest amount of checking, could shatter our hoax. You see, we've left a series of easy clues for them. Discover any one with a single phone call, and the scam is exposed.
And this is Radio WOOP here in New York, and tonight we have a special guest, Carlos, who is...
First, there's our promotional video with a fake radio interview at a fake radio station, WOOP New York.
Good evening. We cannot recognize time.
The video also shows a fake Broadway performance by Carlos, organised for us by some American skeptics.
Think rather in small parcels of experience.
As well, the Australian media will receive fake cuttings from newspapers. You see, we'll give all this material to the Australian media. Now, all that's required from them is one phone call from Australia to any one of these supposed places, and our hoax is unmasked. Our scam got into top gear a little over a fortnight ago when we placed advertisements in the Sydney Daily Telegraph and the Sydney Sun. They are accepted and printed without question or query. Meanwhile, the Sydney office of the mystical Carlos Foundation sends out press kits and our dummy video and audio tapes to the Sydney media.
Hello?
That very afternoon, the media bites.
Yes, they are.
Terry Willesee tonight calls and wants a satellite interview with Carlos in Los Angeles the following night.
Okay, bye.
Our Sydney office has our Los Angeles office respond to the Terry Willesee invitation.
We're willing to do this interview as long as you assure me this is not going to be a 2 or 3 minute interview.
Julie Ladner, a 60 Minutes Los Angeles staffer, plays the role of Carlos's American media minder.
At least 10 minutes. And I also want a chance, I want Carlos given the chance to tell his side of the story.
TWT promotes their Carlos story for a day and a half.
Is he for real, or is it just a performance?
And run it, unwittingly, as the curtain raiser for the arrival in Australia of Jose, Jorge and Randy 2 days later. Our team of fakes and charlatans arrive in Sydney a fortnight ago. 1 day later, the public pair have been mentioned in the Sydney Morning Herald, appeared on Terry Willesee Tonight, and also made this appearance on Nine's Today Show.
Carlos, why can't Jane take your pulse?
This audience is terminated.
But that night, Terry Willesee comes as close as anyone to exposing us when he uses an expert to explain the pulse-stopping trick.
Now, in this case, if you had, say, a tennis ball or a roll of cloth or some newspaper under the armpit and you put pressure on that, that will slow down the pulse rate.
But they are still that phone call away from the real story. So, in true con style, we decide to go for our publicity aggressively. Jose and Jorge have been invited onto the Today Show for a second appearance. We decide to use this opportunity to create a story that will carry all week. When you walk in that studio door, there are 4 things that you've got to achieve. Both of you have got to get on the set. They've got to have 2 chairs there, 1 for each of you. Point 1. Second point, you've got to get the curse out. The curse out against Willesee and the curse out against Negus. You know, you present this piece of paper and that sort of thing.
I don't know what it means. I don't know. I don't understand this language. But I am almost sure this is a curse. This is a curse on you and Willesee.
The third point is you've got to get the challenge out. You'll go naked anywhere to show them you're not using gimmicks to stop the pulse.
Well, I'm not taking this. I can't even take it naked.
Can I say this to you?
I can't even take it naked, so you can prove if you wanted to prove.
Can I say this to you?
Find any ball.
Hey.
And the fourth point is the water.
What about if you stand up and punch us?
What's the natural reaction? What's the natural reaction?
That was good.
See, there's the natural reaction.
You see, you know, he's not going to do anything. He's going to just stand there. I mean, this is too much. Let's get out of here.
The water throwing is a splash success. Carlos is created. Facts, credentials and such like details, they're hidden behind headlines and regular replays of the incident. Carlos is in thousands of homes through primetime television. On A Current Affair, Mike Willesee assures that Carlos is known in the United States.
One man who's been making a name for himself here in the United States is now doing the same in Australia. Jose Luis Alvarez is a 19-year-old channeler.
And the print media is no better. No newspaper makes the simple telephone call that would unmask us. It's just easier to follow the TV story. And an interesting sidelight to this, the group publishing this set of suburban giveaway newspapers in Sydney, they saw our ads for Carlos in the Telegraph and the Sun. They rang asking us to advertise with them, and as an inducement they said they'd give us some free editorial copy. And here's the result. Our ad, and above it, word for word, our press release falsehoods about Carlos appear as news. What's the value of all the publicity we've generated? Australia's largest media buyer, Dennis Merchant.
What I've done is I've taken that total editorial time, taken 50% of that, half, and then I've applied standard rates to that, and the total figure comes out at around about $85,000, and that'd be conservative.
So in just a week, we've gone from this to this. A full hall at the Opera House, compliments of the media that chose not to check the facts. If Carlos had wanted to, he could have laughed all the way to the bank.
I think they're all sincere. I think they're sincere in what they're doing. I don't think they're trying to make money. I don't think they're trying to become particularly famous. It's all possible, isn't it? I mean, you know.
The event that I predicted will take place.
Channelers in the United States generate tens of millions of dollars a year. They rely on a public all too easily fooled, but they also depend just as heavily on a media overeager for new sensation. Well, James, were you surprised at the roll-up at the Opera House?
Mere 7 days preparation, and we packed the place. We could easily, if we'd had 5 or 6 weeks, we could have jammed something 5, 6 times that size and turned people away.
What if you'd been a full-time professional con man? What could you have done?
Well, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be off someplace on a very marvelous holiday by now. We could have made a fortune, Richard, no question of it. But as it is, we didn't take a penny.
We gave ourselves a week to get an Opera House audience and a high public profile for our channeler. It's not a huge step from that to creating a whole movement. What is frightening is that it was so easy. The media has come under considerable fire lately for being too destructive, too eager to focus in on a few negative points rather than give us the full picture with all the facts. The most basic fact about Carlos, so easy to have checked out, was that he simply doesn't exist. Billed as a famous figure in America, yet not one American believer or skeptic would know who you were talking about. Why should such a phony care if he had to go through various grillings on TV? He was able to gain access to thousands of vulnerable minds who otherwise would never have heard of him. That's the real teaching of Carlos. And next week we hope to talk to some of the media figures involved. Now, 60 Minutes doesn't pretend to be any different from the others. We all work in the same high-pressure, competitive environment, and we all need, every so often, to face up to the same critical scrutiny we're happy to inflict on others.
Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.